It is about 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, March 30th, and we are leaving Mexico today. It has been a wild ride. We did all of the Sea of Cortez, all the way from Cabo San Lucas, up around to La Paz, into Penasco, all the way at the northern end of the sea, and then traveled the Pacific coast, all the way down here to Chiapas, where we, on Friday, closed our tip and checked out of the country. Now here on Sunday, we are getting checked out by the port captain. They're going to give us the okay to leave the dock, and then once they come aboard and do their inspection, we are not allowed to leave the boat ever again, and they're going to push us off the dock. Will, unfortunately, has food poisoning, really bad. He has been wildly ill for going on 36 hours. And poor thing. And so I need to go do like trash run, get all the stuff that's on the dock back on the boat, resecure the kayak, get the engine ready. I have to clean the engine filter, unhook the AC, just generally get prepared to leave. And the port captain arrives at 10 and it is currently 7, so I have 3 hours to do all these things, and I'm really hoping that I can squeeze in one last standing shower, one last real shower. We'll see how it all goes. Pressure's on. I think morale is high. My morale is high anyways. I'm excited to get going again. I'm excited to continue to be on the move. I feel really bad that Will is sick. That absolutely sucks to be underway and sick, but it's supposed to be a really chill passage, so hopefully we'll be okay. But we're getting a move on. We're getting out of Mexico. We are finally, after a year and a half, checking out of Mexico. El Salvador, here we come.
There's always a hum of excitement around the boat when we set off on a new passage, especially after haunting a dock for longer than we expected. We spent almost 3 weeks in Marina Chiapas, not because we wanted to, but because timing this passage isn't exactly up to our discretion. We'll be at sea for the next 2 days, traveling 250 nautical miles, passing by the shores of Guatemala, in order to reach our final destination of El Salvador. There are really only 2 available locations north of the Gulf of Fonseca, which is a discussion for another time. But in order to access these well-protected waters, you have to cross the sandbars. If you've seen our previous episodes, you might remember us crossing the bar into El Tata.
Make sure you got a good grip up there!
These types of entries and exits should always be taken seriously.
That might be one of the scariest things we've ever done.
You see, when rivers meet the ocean, it causes constant shifting of sand and silt and breaking waves as the river rushes out while the ocean pushes in. All of this momentum leads to shifting shoals, dangerously shallow water, and extremely hazardous wave conditions. We'll be entering Estero de Jaltepeque, which is more widely known as Bahia del Sol. It's the northern of the 2 rivers along the Salvadoran coast, and let me tell you, this place is infamous for totaling vessels. At only 12 feet in its deepest section, it's pertinent to have a clear understanding of the channel's location prior to entering and exiting. If you are an approaching vessel, there's no way to know for sure where your safest route is. It would be like jumping through a ring of fire and praying to whatever deity is listening that you won't get burned. So how are boaters taking the leap and arriving unscathed on the other side of paradise?
How it used to work is that it was mostly up to the captain's discretion on when they crossed. It didn't really matter what the waves were, what the wind was, how high the tide was. They would just show up when they thought it was a good time. They would hail the pilot on 16, and then they would begin the crossing. And it wasn't always a guarantee that the pilot had done a depth sounding. A lot of times they had just kind of felt their way through the channel. So there you are, following behind them. The waves are breaking all around you, and you're really just hoping that you make it across the other side.
Otherwise, you might end up like Rum Truffle here, who took 2 unexpectedly large waves, which ultimately led her to grounding, and almost instantaneous gutting by the locals. This year, they've implemented 2 crucial rules. You must cross during super high tide, determined by either a full or new moon, and wave conditions have to be less than 2 meters or 6 feet. With a pilot vessel, of course. This is why we were holed up in Chiapas much longer than we anticipated. We don't have the freedom to plan this one ourselves. We first had to reach out to Bill and Jean, 2 Americans who immigrated to El Salvador over a decade ago, after completing their own sailing journey. They work directly with the marina to help other cruisers get in and out of the estuary. Our first scheduled crossing was canceled due to swell conditions, and we were forced to stay put. But we've been given the green light, and despite the food poisoning, we're gunning full speed to face what we hope is actually a pretty easy challenge based on the guidelines provided. We're Will and Em.
Say something cool.
And we're living on the hook in our sailboat, Appa. For nearly a decade, we planned and plotted our escape from the Fire Nation, aka our day jobs, and now we're hightailing it on the high seas aboard our sailing Bison.
Papa got the zoomies.
After a year of isolation in the remote Sea of Cortez, we're venturing south towards a new ocean with new friends, and of course our trusty sidekick, Blue Dog. Subscribe, kick your feet up, and join us on our quest to master the elements and sail everywhere.
It is about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I'm taking the first shift here in the evening. I feel like absolute crap. Food poisoning sucks. But I'm here to tell you about the lightning. We've got pretty strong lightning system off of our port side. That's east of us. It's on land right here in Guatemala. Some of them are big, some of them are bright. I can't figure out which way it's drifting yet. I've headed a little bit more offshore, try to avoid it. We are definitely not lightning experts by any means. That's a new one for us, so this will all be a learning curve. And yeah, conditions are super chill. Otherwise, we're doing 5 knots speed over ground and 6 knots apparent wind. Got about 200 miles left to go out of the 250, so about a fifth of the way through. Outside of being sick and scared about the lightning, life is pretty good. Pretty good. Alright, we've officially hit the squally part of the world. Just got hit by one. I think it's probably 11:30 right now. Had to call Emily up from sleeping. Great work, Em. And yeah, I got the head sail reefed in time, but not the mainsail. Did a little crash jibe there. We had a jibe preventer on, so no damage done. It flipped us 180, exactly opposite of the course we were going in a matter of seconds. But the boat handled it fine. Got 3 reefs in the main real fast, and yeah, we're back on course now. And it's pretty cool. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. And lightning. We're ignoring the lightning. You have a single reef in the head sail.
Okay.
You have 2 reefs, if not 3, in the mainsail. Just a little sliver of main. It's prevented. Over on the port side,
Okay.
you're doing 1.5 to 2 knots in 3 to 4 knots of breeze, generally in the right direction. And I'm going to bed.
Good night.
Good night. I'm gonna sleep up here.
Squall pass, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn the Wi-Fi on for a weather check. Let's shift change and good night.
And good night.
might be the most rain we've ever had on the boat. It's been squally all night.
Good morning. This is the final day of our passage. We are only 18 nautical miles away from our destination. We are crawling in intentionally. We have to get there at slack tide this evening, 5:10 p.m. We are crawling in right now, and that's intentional because we can only cross the bar today at high slack tide, which is 5:10 p.m. So we have to burn pretty much all the daylight hours here before we can get across the bar, and we're going nice and slow on our entry, so we're not sitting around bobbing uncomfortably too much. We had to kick the engines on because our batteries were dying. We don't talk about it very often, but we still rock old ass AGMs. They're about 10 years old now and they are suffering, but we don't have the money yet for lithiums. So every couple days when we're underway, about every 35 hours, we need to kick the engine on and recharge our batteries, and that's with all of the solar we have now. It just can't keep up while we're underway. So that's what we're doing. Batteries are charging happily. We're making moves, and for the very first time since last season, sunrise is on the starboard side of the boat.
On the bar entrance or the anchor spot, we're kind of trying to decide if we should tack around a bit because we still have a few hours before we actually meet up with our pilot to cross the bar, or if we just go to the anchor position and actually anchor. It's a little choppy out here now. The wind has really picked up from the Papagayo south of us. We're moving a little faster than we thought we would be. So we have a pretty decent reef in the main, and we have just a little sliver of our head sail out just to keep our nose down, make it a little more comfortable ride. We're getting ever closer to that bar crossing.
Alright, we've wasted all of the time that we need to. It's time to do our final jibe and then cross the bar. We're gonna need our life jackets. Yo Lou, we have like 2 hours until we're there, man. Why are you wearing your life jacket already? Nerd.
I'm gonna put Lou in the backpack.
There they go.
This is crazy. These waves are huge. This is way worse than El Tata. I regret everything I've said. This is so sketchy. Oh my god.
We just watched a fishing panga go through successfully. I see him on the other side.
Of the first round of waves. I'm gonna shit my pants. This is so scary.
But yeah, we were at the meeting point. I'm just battling to the waves here, so nothing sneaks up on us.
Just wait for our pilot.
sounds like the pilot boat can see us. They just reached out over the radio to say that we appear to be in the right position and to just hold tight, and they are on their way out. So we're doing just that. All right, here comes the pilot vessel. They've just crossed the major section of waves. Looks like they are headed our way. Hopefully we'll get some direction here in a minute and get this party started.
I remember that I was nervous, like, leading up to it, even leaving Chiapas. Actually, as everybody worked their way south, one of the big questions and one of the big points of divergence on routes was whether or not someone would cross the bar. So one of the main reasons we lost the Golden Anchor Pirate Club is because most of them didn't want to cross the bar. So it was top of mind for a long, long time. And when we got there, the waves were ripping. And I remember I had been joking about it being a rough crossing for my own nerves, for my own sake.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I looked at you and I just made a joke about it, and it did not land well. And I was like, all right, gotta stop joking. And then the time came and we started going. We actually did a false start. They're like, okay, follow us. And they go so much faster. So by the time we were actually following them, they had bailed out. And they're like, no, we'll get the next one. So we had to turn around, and at that point the waves were already really steep. So I was turning around and like the wave was coming over the side. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize how big the wave was. And then we had to go back out and go back in. And I think I was much more prepared mentally that second round.
Nice job. I remember having a moment of like, we shouldn't be doing this. This is too dangerous. We should not be doing this.
Mm-hmm. I did keep reminding myself that the new rules were in place. And like we had done so much planning and organizing with Bill and Jean that I felt like comfortable that the new rules assured some level of safety.
Mm-hmm.
In secret, I prepared a ditch bag before we actually started across. It was our passports, some money. I think I grabbed the hard drives, the computers.
Yeah, it was like all of our true valuables.
Mm-hmm.
Things that were going to help us in a sticky situation.
And then we locked the whole boat down tight. Everyone got life jackets on. So like we were prepared for the worst case scenario the whole time going through.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate as it was, that was what was on our mind. Full speed, copy that. I think my whole goal was to just stay directly in line with where the panga was. And I think that was a little bit of a mistake.
I got Push here, guys. Whoa. I got it. Yep, straight off this time. Good job, Appa.
I remember we like talked afterwards, and you're like, "Can you describe how you feel?" And just like a sound came out.
Yeah, I have that actually on video. You just going.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Very eloquent. Cries in El Salvadoran.
We had 2 big waves come and mess with us.
Yeah, but like, why am I not? Am I following it?
Looks like you can get a little push here, guys.
Whoa.
I can't see you. I'm behind the wave.
Yep. Straight on this time.
Okay.
Big difference between the first and second one was the second one I had perfectly lined up on the stern. The first one kind of caught us off guard, and it caught us at a little bit of an angle. And it's a big enough wave that that little bit of an angle made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And when our boat just got spun like it was a little toy,
I got it.
it really felt more like muscle memory than it was like thinking. Just like the wheel went the wrong way, and I was over just turning it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, we're like, okay, the second one's coming. This one, Bill's on the radio, and he's like, hey, we can't see you anymore.
Yeah.
We're in between the 2 big waves, so you just have to like, I think he said just like ride them out.
Okay.
And then when we eventually like came over the second wave and the swell in front of us settled enough that we could see them, they were way off to port, like a scary enough distance that we thought there was high potential for running aground.
Yeah, for sure. So the whole thing was like pandemonium.
You come over this way a little bit, Will.
But for such a short period of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we were stuck in a storm for hours
Right.
and thought we were gonna die the whole time.
Yeah, it was like 10 hours of anxiety building, and then a minute and 30 seconds of like the actual event, and then it was the adrenaline come down for hours afterwards.
Yeah.
You said that was a surprise, mate.
I remember when we made it through, he called on the radio. He was like, hey, congratulations, you're across the bar. And I think I said something back along the lines of like, yeah, I don't believe you.
I'm not slowing down though. I'm not slowing down yet, buddy.
And then we're in the bay, in Bahia del Sol.
And then we get in, and the whole bombardment of like hotel personnel, Bill and Jean and their daughter was also there. And then the people from the Coast Guard, like the government officials, customs, everybody came down to the boat. And it reminded me of when like little kids have a really bad fall and you're just like, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, trying to get them to not cry. That was how it felt coming into the dock, and everybody being like, hey, great job, you did fine, everything's all right, you made it.
How was that ride, Emily?
Holy shit! Yeah! Yeah!
After going through that whole anxiety build, the whole event, as you're coming down to then have to go fill out like government paperwork in a language you don't speak.
But yeah, this was definitely so far in our sailing journey aboard Appa, that was our scariest experience, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
We both were shaking in our boots until the next morning.
We were joking in El Tata that we were doing 6 knots on a 6-foot wave in 6-foot depth. Here we were doing 8 knots, 15-foot wave in 10-foot depth.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Whew.
What the f***? Maybe one of our most earned passage beers ever.
Truly. So now that you've heard our crazy experience, we would like to offer some things that we wish we knew before we were crossing the bar.
I think the first one for me would be that it is ultimately up to the captain's decision. All of the rules that are in place are there to help your odds, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide. So don't feel like, part of me felt super safe because the rules existed, and I think I should have had one extra step of thought.
Also important to note that the next anchorage is only 50 miles further south, so with one extra overnight, you can be in a very well-secured, non-bar anchorage.
Next up, definitely get in touch with Bill and Jean early on. They are your best bet for getting across safely, and they do a lot of work to keep all the plans up to date and everyone that they know is coming in up to date, and then stay in touch pretty often because the data changes quickly.
Yes. They are easy to get a hold of if you have no foreign land. Their information, I believe, is in the Bahia del Sol pin on No Foreign Land. I will say we wish that we had contacted them earlier than we did. We waited until we were already in Chiapas to contact them.
Mm-hmm.
Had we done it while we were still in Huatulco and realized just how long of a wait it was going to be before our window, I think we would have spent an extra week in Huatulco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So definitely contact them before you cross the Gulf of Tehuantepec. Yeah.
Have a worst case scenario plan. So this is you going through it. One thing to note is that they don't give you an elaborate plan. You're going to get a call on the radio, a Ponga's going to show up, and they're going to say, follow me as fast as you can. And that's it. That's the whole plan. You're following them. So.
And then they're going to say, wait, let's go back as fast as you can.
Hopefully not, but don't expect an elaborate plan. Have a worst case scenario worked out in your head. Unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah, have your ditch bag ready. Make sure everyone, all crew, is aware of the plan. Make it very, very clear what's going to happen if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. The pin on Navionics for where you should meet them beforehand is actually pretty close to where the breakers start. Don't go right to that pin. Stay further away. You'll see them come out in the Ponga. They'll be on VHF 16.
There is a buoy out in the water that is technically the designated anchor location. You can anchor there. We did not anchor there because it was too rough of conditions. The Papagayo was blowing south of us, so we did not anchor there. But there is a large buoy. It's impossible to miss. You can see it from miles away, where you can drop your anchor if you need to. Other than that, like Will said, try to stay further offshore until the pilot vessel contacts you over the VHF, if at all possible.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Finally. I want to make it very clear that while we had this insane experience that we hope we never have to live through again, and I'm sure we are scaring a lot of other people away from Bahia del Sol, it really is worth it.
Yeah, don't be a wuss. You can cross the bar. If we cross the bar, you can cross the bar.
Yeah, we know about 30 other boats that crossed the bar last year, and their experience fit the actual criteria for crossing the bar. Everyone had very chill conditions.
Super easy.
A couple people had what we would call sporty sailing across, but that was really like 3-foot waves, like it's supposed to be, and not 15-foot waves like what we had. So don't let our story scare you away from Bahia del Sol entirely. The people in El Salvador are extremely friendly. It's much safer than it used to be. We had a wonderful experience there, as you will see in the upcoming videos. So don't discount it on our end. Don't discount it because of our story.
El Salvador is great. It's worth crossing the bar.
It is. Thanks for watching that chaos. Next week will be much more chill, and you'll get to actually see a bit more of El Salvador and what we are talking about and how wonderful it is.
Yeah, it's nice. You'll like it.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.